this is Trista from Zero Casualties and welcome to another vintage recipe. This time we're making chicken gumbo right here from the Delineator Cookbook from 1928. It is from the Delineator Home Institute. So it is a very comprehensive book that I have very well marked with a lot of things to try. So this is going to be kind of my modern take on this soup, and let me show you what we're going to use first, and then we'll go over to the stove where I have things ready to start cooking. So let me show you some of the ingredients we're going to be using for this chicken gumbo. I have some heavy cream that we add in towards the end. I'm using some parsley flakes. You can use fresh ones as well if you want. I usually keep these because when you buy parsley, a lot of times it goes bad before you use all of it. I have just 1 can of diced tomatoes. You can put in more since the original calls for 5 tomatoes, but I'll experiment with this. And then a large onion chopped up. The original says to slice it, but I usually prefer the smaller pieces of onion. And then I'm going to use green beans instead of okra because they're really hard to find, even frozen, here in Oregon. So I'm going to use that. Of course, my favorite kosher salt. Towards the end, I'm going to use a tiny bit of cayenne pepper just to taste, probably just for people to put in their bowls if they want it. And then I have my own Creole spice mix here. The recipe only calls for the cayenne pepper, salt and pepper, but I put a teaspoon each here of garlic powder, onion powder, thyme, oregano, paprika. Yeah, and I think that's about it. So I'm spicing it up a little bit. So, and some chicken broth instead of the boiling water, and I'll be putting in some fresh ground pepper. Let's go over to the stove where we can see how we're gonna start cooking this soup. All right, let me show you what we have in this pan before we start cooking. So it called for about a half cup of salt pork, which is not a modern thing that you can find too much of anymore. So I actually put about a half cup of chopped up raw bacon here in the bottom. And I'm gonna saute it with about a pound of chicken tenders. It calls for a whole chicken, but just for ease of making the soup and having it easier to eat and deal with, I'm modernizing that a bit, and it may not have quite as much chicken as the original, but we will have a lot of good stuff in here. So basically you want to saute this in the bacon fat until the chicken is quite browned, and then we're going to put it in this big kind of Dutch oven soup pot here. It just says to put it in a saucepan, but I want to make sure that there's plenty of room. So I've got this turned up to kind of medium high here, and we're going to cook this. After a while, we will be, after we saute the chicken till it's brown, I'm going to be putting the chicken in the saucepan and leaving as much bacon as I can so that we can saute the onions and stuff in there. So this is a really different chicken gumbo because there's no, flour and butter roux to it or anything. So it's a different take on chicken gumbo. But I think it's going to be delicious, and it already smells like bacon. So, since this takes a little while to saute, I will probably be speeding this part of the video up. So I'm going to stop chatting for a little while I saute this. All right, we'll come back in just a moment when this is all ready to go into the saucepan. So over here we are at the Dutch oven. I put a little bit of olive oil on the bottom just so the chicken doesn't stick. This is going to be a little bit of an operation because I've got to separate the chicken pieces from the bacon. So I'm going to probably do most of this off camera, but I just want to show you that, show you how it looks after we've sauteed it a bit. The bacon isn't super crispy or anything, but we're just going to separate as best we can the chicken pieces and put them here in the soup pot. So I will be back when we're ready to saute the veggies. We are back and I separated as much of the chicken as I could from the bacon. There might be tiny pieces of chicken in here, but we're gonna go ahead and saute our chopped up onion. It's a fairly large onion. And then we're also gonna add the green beans in here. So this is quite a bit. I would say there's at least 2 or 3 cups of green beans. These are fresh ones that I just kind of took the ends off of and snapped them into smaller pieces. You could also use frozen ones that are well drained and, you know, defrosted. But I'm curious to see how this will saute up. So what the recipe is, yeah, it actually says to add in the tomatoes later, but since those are already kind of cooked, because they're canned tomatoes, I don't think I really have to saute those. I'm just going to show you the beginning part of the sauteing because it says to saute quite slowly, so I might turn down the heat. And I'm very curious what this would be with salt pork, if I could ever find some. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but maybe just really big pieces of bacon, I don't know. But anyway, this is looking really yummy. So I will come back when this is sauteed down some more and when we start to get all of the soup ingredients ready to kind of meld together with the broth and everything. I will come back then. And now we're back to the soup pot and I've finished sauteing. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna get my broth out here from the microwave. So I finished sauteing the onions, bacon, and green beans. They look really beautiful, as you can see. So I'm going to put those right in here. I sauteed them probably 15-20 minutes. Not the full half hour that it recommends because I figured they looked pretty good. And so let's get all of that in there, all that great stuff. Okay, so we're gonna stir this up really well. And then since we didn't saute the tomatoes with it, let's add in the tomatoes to the soup. And I'm gonna go over all the kind of general amounts of things that you're gonna need for the soup in a moment one more time. So we have, that was one 15-ounce can of stewed tomatoes or chopped tomatoes. Then we have about 2 or 3 cups of fresh green beans, 1 chopped onion, about a half a cup of bacon that's uncooked that you saute the chicken in, and the veggies. Then we have 3 cups of chicken broth here. You want to make sure and heat that up really well. It originally said boiling water, but I thought, you know, I want a little more flavor in here, and since we're not doing chicken on the bone, I thought I would put in some broth. So I'm not going to add quite as much salt. It says 2 tablespoons salt, but we already have the bacon and the broth in there. So I might put 1 more teaspoon before or after I add these seasonings. So we have 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon thyme, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and 1 teaspoon of oregano. So all of that is going in there. We don't have anything spicy right now. I will let everyone at the table add the cayenne if they want. It's a little safer that way. Cayenne can really get really spicy quickly, so want to be careful about that. So I'm just gonna take my kosher salt. I'm gonna add 4 of these tiny little spoons, which equals about a teaspoon. And we can always adjust the seasoning later. And then I'm going to add, oh, that's right. Originally it said adding the parsley during the sauteing, but since it's just dried flakes, we'll add a few shakes there. And then we want to add in the pepper. So it says about a half teaspoon. Let's just do a few shakes of it. We can always add more if we want later. Just kind of eyeballing that. So we want to simmer this. It says simmer slowly 2 to 4 hours. I'm not sure if we're really going to need quite that much time, because again, the chicken is not on the bone. However, what I'm going to do is first kind of get it up to the boiling point, or just, yeah, get it to the boiling point. Then we're going to turn down the temperature, and then we will let it simmer. I think I'll let it simmer, well, probably 45 minutes to an hour, and then kind of give it a taste and see. And what you do after it simmers is you are going to add, well, any seasonings if you want to add more seasonings, either salt, pepper, or any more of the herbs or spices. And then at the very end, we're going to add the heavy cream. And then it also calls for 1 cup, it says boiled rice or steamed rice or whatever, you know, cooked rice you have around. We happen to have quite a bit of leftover cooked brown rice, so I'm going to be adding that in at the very end. Or we can kind of dish it up with the rice, either way. But after this has simmered for quite a while, I will come back and give you a look at the final soup, and then we will do a tasting of it later on. So I will see you when this has simmered for quite a bit. So we are back with this delicious chicken gumbo, or my take on it, from the 1928 recipe. It smells really delicious. As you can see, it's still really steamy. But anyway, the chicken is super tender in here. So it looks really fantastic. I'll show you kind of a closer up of that. Sorry, it's so steamy, but it's just nice and hot. Anyway, I'm going to pour this cream in and see what that looks like. That looks beautiful. We're just gonna stir that up. Ooh, that looks so good. So instead of putting the rice in the soup, which you can do if you want, just so it doesn't get so soggy, I'm going to actually probably just have it on the side, and everyone eating the soup can add, rice either in their soup bowl or on the bottom of the soup bowl. So I will be back in a little bit when this cools down and we will try it. If you're gonna serve this right away, I would actually heat it up a little bit more, just because I put the cream back in the fridge since it needed to cook a little bit longer. So it's cold cream that I put in there, so we probably want to heat it up just a tiny bit, and then serve it with the rice. So I will come back and we will all let you know what we think of this delicious soup. See you in a bit. Back, we have our chicken gumbo soup and everybody's gonna try it.
It looks great.
See how it is. I'm very curious.
Ooh, it's hot.
I really like the spices and herbs in there.
I like how it's really creamy.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's very hot, so I can't eat much right now.
No worries. Yeah, it's not a traditional gumbo, but I really like it.
Oh yeah, how so?
It doesn't have like the flour butter roux that you use to make gumbo, but it's yummy.
It's kind of reminds me of like a spicy chicken chowder because it's got a little creaminess to it. It's really delicious.
Yeah. Adam approved.
Yay. Me
Huge
too.
thumbs up.
Yay. Thank you. Be sure to try the recipe. See you later.
Also make sure to like and subscribe.
Yes, exactly. Like and subscribe. Very important.
I'm sure you guys
Thank
totally...
you, YouTube tutor.
You guys aren't sick of hearing that. Whenever I hear YouTubers say that, I always roll my eyes.
But make sure to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have dinner so I can eat more of this?